I am Dr. Nick, the Apostle Paul's messenger in this 21st century world.
What message would the Apostle Paul deliver to a 21st century American audience if he were alive today?
The author has written
an open letter about creation and life. By trusting God in the miracle of new life.
Greetings. This is Dr. Nick, the Apostle Paul's messenger in the 21st century. And I wanted to talk to you today about an event that's happening this week. It's called Halloween. Okay. And I just wanted to share some of my thoughts about it. And I think the thoughts that I would share would be more in line with what the Apostle Paul would say to the Gentile community that he really was sent to by Jesus. And so I just want to start off by just mentioning one thing. Paul did not try to condemn people. That wasn't his purpose. And that's not my purpose today, is to condemn. And some people might think the view that I'm going to be talking about is really putting them down. And that's absolutely not where I'm coming from. I'm trying to share what I think Paul would say about today's secular culture and the direction that it's gone into, and it's going to only get worse. So at some point, Paul would say, you got to transition from the way of the world and transition to the way of Jesus Christ. And that's basically what happened to him. He was a zealot who wanted to persecute the Christians, and then Jesus appeared to him, and his whole life changed 180 degrees. He wasn't the same person. And he saw everything in the lens of Jesus Christ. And God knew his heart, and God knew his intelligence. God knew that he was being sent to a pagan culture, and that he would, in a great way, be able to influence those people. And he did. He was very accomplished in his work. He might have said things that angered people. That wasn't his intent. He wasn't looking to start an argument. He wasn't looking to start a fight. He was simply just giving direction, Christian direction, to an environment that really wasn't motivated in that direction. Now, Halloween it's a fun time. I mean, when I was growing up, I loved Halloween. We used to go around. We used to get candy. We used to get money in our sacks. We used to get, we walk around with pillowcases. That was the thing that we used to, because a pillowcase was big, and you can get a lot of candy and money in that. So we really enjoyed that time, and it was in the 90s. And I can relate at least one situation. I grew up in a working class environment. My father and mother did not have a car. We couldn't afford a car. They couldn't afford a car. And the way we got around as a family, we either walked. I walked to school many days. I walked to church many days. I walked to the store to get stuff, half a mile away. And that wasn't unusual. Either that, or my parents would take a bus. They would take a taxi. They would take a train, or they would ask a neighbor, if you're going in the same direction, can I get a ride from you? Okay, they were the ways we got around when I was growing up in grammar school. I did not have a car. And like I said, the neighborhood was interracial, big time. I lived with my parents lived with my grandmother. There was a 2-family house. On one side was my parents, myself, and my grandmother. And on the other side of the house was my aunt and uncle and my cousins. And they ran an Italian grocery store, which was attached to their side of the house. It was a big piece of property. And we had interaction with each other all the time. There was a door between both families. And we would, go in there and visit, watch TV there. They used to come to our house and watch TV. We grew up together, and we We shared food together. We did all kinds of things together. And we even went to church together. So, that was basically the environment. And our neighborhood, next to me was an Italian family. Next to them was a Hispanic family. Going down the street, you would have another family that was a mixed Irish and Polish family. Then you had Italians, and you all the way down the street, there was another Polish family. Across the street from them was a Polish family. And then across from us was an Italian family. To my aunt and uncle's side, there was a black family. Right next to them, there was a husband and wife and I think 3 or 4 children. Next to them was another black family. Behind us was a black family. And we all integrated. The people behind us was a single mother with 2 children who she adopted, by the way. I'm not sure all their other circumstances was that she was able to adopt these kids. Maybe she was married and they adopted and then they broke up. I'm not sure. I never got into that part of it. But one of the children was his name was Richard. We were on the same baseball team together. We used to practice. He used to be a great pitcher. I mean, he could really throw that ball. I'll tell you, he was good. And I was his catcher. And when we were playing, I wasn't a catcher during the games, but when we were kind of practicing at home, he would pitch to me, and we would just work out together. And then I would go into his house. He would come to our house. We would watch TV at my house or his house. So, and then the black family next to my aunt and uncle, they had it was an interesting religious environment because the mother was Catholic, a black Catholic woman. So that was unusual. And her husband was a Baptist individual. And they had a daughter, 2 daughters. One was called Shy and the other one was Cheryl. Shy she wanted to be Catholic like her mother, but I guess she had not been baptized or confirmed yet. She wanted to, so I guess they went to the local Catholic church and talked to the priest. So you have to have a sponsor, somebody that's Catholic. They asked me to be their daughter's sponsor. And that meant that me and Shy had to go to church together, to the CCD classes together. We used to go to practice together. People used to see this black girl and this white guy, and they probably thought, it's probably her boyfriend. Anyway, that wasn't the case. I was really proud of the fact that they asked me because they thought that, I had a solid religious way of thinking and doing things. So God's been good to me in that regard. That Halloween, myself and the guy across the street, his name is Johnny, he dressed up as Aunt Jemima. And today you can't do that. Oh my God. I mean, you'd be in major trouble, trying to act like a black person if you're white. It's like you're putting the person down. That wasn't the case at all. Aunt Jemima was well known and liked by everybody. And I dressed up as her husband. I can't remember what my name was. It was, I think, there was some kind of a name that people used to call her husband. I'm just not sure what it was. So we had, blackface. We both dressed up as black family, 2 black individuals. We were acting like, we were members of the black community. We did things that were not put downs, but a respect for the customs of the black community, okay, which were different than the white community. And in some ways, much better than some of the white communities, because those people went to church and they did all kinds of things. They were good Christian people. They just expressed themselves in a different way than some of the Italians and Polish people and Irish people in our neighborhood would have been. But we respected each other. We did things with each other. It wasn't a put down. It was an enrichment. It was fun. And no one took offense about it at all. As a matter of fact, that day, we had to end up at the local public high school, and you had to tell them, we want to go on stage. There was a contest that who was the best costume. We went up there as Aunt Jemima and her husband, and people were roaring. Oh, they just thought it was so funny because we were acting out and all that stuff. We were having a good time. And so we ended up being third. There was all kinds of people there, kids from all over the place. And we ended up third, so that we were judged to have the 3rd best costumes. And we had a good time. I'm not putting Halloween down. We weren't dressed as saints. We weren't dressed in the secular garb. We dressed costumes that were different than who we were as individuals. Today, and I think Paul would address this, there is an effort to do things that are not really religious, because Halloween really is a Christian holiday. It's All Hallows Eve, and it's the slang for it is Halloween, but it's All Hallows Eve, and that means hallows are the saints. Hallowed be thy name, and it's the Our Father. So hallow means holy be thy name. Okay, so these people the hallowed people were holy individuals in the community, holy individuals that made a mark on their fellow man. The mark that they made were spiritual mark. Okay, and that's what God has called us to. And that's what Paul would say is put your focus on Christ. See, he got transformed, so he knew the experience of who Christ was. And that's why God called him to go into a very strange environment. He was a Jew, he was formed as a Jew, and God sent him because of his personality, sent him into a pagan environment, basically. And today, if you really look at how kids are dressed, the parents send them out with, they look like skeletons. I mean, the message that you're conveying is not All Hallows Eve, but, it's really not life after death. It's a decayed person. You end up being a demon, a witch, something like that. I mean, it's not something you want to put on. You don't want to be that way. You want to depict goodness, fun. But, the part about getting candy, all that stayed the same. But the dress, the communication is not Christ-like. And I'm not faulting anyone. I think that the environment, we think it's funny. We think it's hilarious. We think it's joking around. Yes, I understand that some good people do things during Halloween that aren't the way they do things in everyday life, but they're pulled into the secular worldly culture. And what happens is that it affects you in some way. It has to affect you in some way. You can't really be fully into Jesus and to live as righteous as you can be and dress up in an evil way, or in a way where you're trying to scare people instead of enriching people. You want to get them. You want to scare them. When you're a kid, you like to play around and do stuff like that. But the parents really need to see how they are communicating to their kids. Now, me and my wife, we grew up, and we when we had our children, we did everything we could to communicate the positive. My son, who is a police officer now, he wanted to be St. Michael, the Archangel. All right, because St. Michael was, he had a spear, and he was going to kill the devil, and he was going to kill the bad guy. And so he wanted to do that. My other son, Nicholas, he used to dress up. Well, I know one year he dressed up like a politician. I won't say who that politician was. I think it was Trump. But that's when he was an adult. When he was a kid, he would dress up like Santa Claus or something like that. My son Vincent would dress up in some kind of a saintly way as well. And my daughter, she would go around as the Blessed Mother. I don't think she liked doing that because, I don't know why, but, now I look back at it, I have to laugh. It's funny. But the message we tried to give them was that, be a good person. Don't be a negative person. And of course, they also dressed up in as a princess, or they dressed as a baseball player or a football player. They did things like that too. So, it wasn't that it was always some kind of a saint, but our emphasis was on being a good, decent person. That's important that we communicate that to our kids. You don't want to tell them about evil. God, there's enough things in the world that drive you in that direction. Why would you want to dress up like that? I think Paul would say that is you got to make an effort. You got to focus in and be a witness in the world where Christ isn't the focus anymore. Used to be, but now it's not. It's like whatever the neighbors do, we'll do. That's not going to get you to heaven. I hate to tell you. You're not going to get to heaven. You're going to have to suffer some way to get to heaven because you're going in the wrong direction, and God's going to make sure you get back in the right direction. It's not easy. Thought I was crazy. They thought I was too radical. My goodness, you're talking about Jesus. Oh, my God. Well, too bad. That's who I am. That's who God made me. I'm glad that I had that character. I can raise that in my kids. Sometimes you take hold of it, and sometimes you don't. I can't force anyone to be like me. I want them to be better than me, not like me, better than me. So I think that's what Paul would say in today's society, is that we got to make an extra effort to turn our lives and think about God in everything we do. And it's not, like I said, it's not easy, but it's something that I think we need to contemplate. So I want to encourage you as best I can. And I had a saying here. Basically, what St. Paul would say is, in everything, in every circumstance, rejoice. Rejoice in God's love for you. In every circumstance, even if it is unpleasant, even if it's a challenge, in all circumstances, give thanks. I know I've been challenged in my life in work environments. I've been laid off. A couple times I was laid off. That means the employer chose other people to stay there and not me. And that happens to a lot of people. Is it nice? No, of course not. I've experienced rejection in many ways. The thing is, God says, in all things, rejoice, give thanks, in all circumstances. That means you trust that God really is there with you, despite your challenge. And when you're going through it, it's like, oh, this is the worst thing in the world. And I've been there a million times. But you know what? You just got to say, God has a reason for this, and I trust him completely. Put your trust in the Lord always. Rejoice in the Lord always. Give thanks always. That's what Paul's message would be. So with that, take your walk through life with Jesus. And God bless you. And thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. Bye. So thanks for joining me today on Dr. Nick, the Apostle Paul's messenger. I hope this message touches your heart and gives you something to consider. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe so you never miss a conversation, and click that bell. That's important. Okay? And if you found value in today's discussion, please share it with your friends who might need to hear it. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So connect with me by emailing me at drnick, it's Dr. Nick, drnick, Apostle Paul's Messenger @gmail.com. Send in your questions, and let's keep this conversation moving. Until next time, stay strong in the faith, stand firm in the truth, and remember, you are never alone on this journey. God bless.